Hi, this is Rick Coder with Cloud for Utilities. Thank you for joining us at the 2021 Digital and Cloud Summit. Today, I am with Scott Harden, the CTO of Worldwide Energy at Microsoft. How are you, Scott?
Doing great, Rick. Thanks a lot for having me here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Excited to learn more about you and what's going on with Microsoft in our utility space. So to start off, why don't you give us just kind of a quick understanding, kind of like your role at Microsoft?
Yeah, glad to fill you in on that. So Microsoft prioritized energy a couple of years ago in this overall movement within the company that's really, we call it pivot to industry. Energy, obviously, there's a lot of interesting developments in the industry, especially over the last 5 years. And so 2 years ago, when Microsoft prioritized energy as a vertical, this team was originated. And the leader for our team, Daryl Willis, was brought in, and we started to really accrue a team of domain expertise into our group. Our group is really responsible for addressing the overall commercial strategy for Microsoft for energy. And so in that capacity, we work very closely with a number of key stakeholders, including our major customers, global customers, our partner ecosystem, as well as our product engineering team. So it's a really exciting position to be in, especially considering all of the dynamic forces that are in play with energy right now. In my role, particularly as CTO, I've been here for a year, and I'm responsible for really looking after the technology trends that are really influencing the industry, not only now, but looking into the future over the next decade.
Sounds like a big job.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about Microsoft's strategy for the energy space. I mean, y'all have so many, products and services, household name, obviously. Would love to just kind of know more about how you're positioning.
Yeah, it's a great question. Especially when you consider that Microsoft has traditionally been a technology-led company. Engineers have led the company. But with our focus on industry, we're really looking at how we can bring to bear more domain relevance in the products and services that we offer, and also how we're engaging our ecosystem in the industry. And so when it comes to our strategy for the energy sector, it's important to take note of kind of some of the commitments that Microsoft has made over the last few years, especially around sustainability. We have made major commitments to not only become a net zero operator, but also to actually focus on becoming net negative, removing carbon from the planet. And this really aligns with the global initiatives all around sustainability. Our job on the energy team is we address energy all up. So that includes oil and gas, power and utilities, mining, as well as cross-industry sustainability. But it's deliberate that way, in that what we're really focused on and what we're measured against is the impact that we have on energy transition all up. And so, what good looks like for our team and for what Microsoft's ambitions are around the utility industry is how can we help with the major efforts required for decarbonization? How do we help the energy system shift from being molecule-based to being electron-based?
Obviously, as you just said, there's a lot going on in the energy and utility space the last 5 years. And, with President Biden's initiatives for green energy, we're going to see just more and more transformation. I mean, where do you see our industry taking digital into the future?
Yeah, and I think another great question. And I think it's not only where we take digital, it's where digital takes us, right? And if you really take into consideration, there was a lot of digital transformation initiatives that were in flight, over the last 5 years. What has been really interesting and I would say encouraging coming out of just the most strange period of our times with the recent pandemic is that there has been a bias for action. And that bias for action has really looked at how digital transformation could not only enable a workforce that is now working from home, key personnel that are actually having to maintain ubiquitous operations from their home office. But what we have also seen is that same really acceleration of digital transformation that is moving to enabling the home office, also to actually accelerate digital transformation in industry more broadly. And it truly has resonated within the energy industry. And so the conversations that we're having today with utilities are much more about, where do we need to be sooner rather than later? And how are we going to get there? And it's not about experimentation anymore. The utility industry has always been an industry that likes to experiment, with pilot projects and such. The conversations that we're having now really are about how do we truly transform the way that we operate as an industry. And not only do we transform by leveraging digital, are there new business models that we need to contemplate because of that type of transformation?
Makes sense. Scott, when we hear Microsoft, we think of all these applications that we're using every day in our lives. Microsoft has an awful lot to offer anybody, but especially utilities. Is there a specific portfolio of your products and services that you're really focused on in utilities?
Yeah. So from an energy perspective, this year we announced this last year we announced what we're calling our industry priorities. 4 of them. And the 4 industry priorities really focus on what we see as operating for the future, workforce transformation. And those are really around digital transformation of industry and the way industry operates. But then we also are focusing on 2 others, one that we call reimagine energy, and then the other is transition to clean. And those are really focused on what I had just mentioned around energy transition and how we can contribute. All of those priorities essentially transcend the products within our portfolio, our entire portfolio. And so there's going to be aspects of what we offer with Office. There's going to be aspects of what we offer from Dynamics that are going to be specific to this. But probably the most impactful capability that we have today is our cloud. And Microsoft, it's just an interesting fact for you. Azure was really initiated about 12 years ago. It was called Project Red Dog, for those who may not know that. And over the last, decade and a few years, we've made significant investments into our cloud, where we've transitioned from something that was just what you could do as a virtual machine on a desktop could go to the cloud, to where we are today with over 170 data centers operating in 62 different regions around the world. What we're really looking at is how can you take advantage of that as a global computer? So if you could take advantage of virtualizing all of the computing capability across our cloud, what are the new things that you could do? And so those are the real topics that we're focused on right now in the energy sector, because when we contemplate a power system where energy becomes multi-directional, and moving away from the traditional source of bulk generation down to the point of use, to a situation or a network where you have generation participants that are at the edge of the grid. You have generation that may happen somewhere in the distribution system, as well as obviously on the transmission system itself. And so you're running this much more complex system that's still based on aging infrastructure. And so what can you do to be able to support that? We believe that there is the opportunity to leverage cloud and that virtualized nature of the computer, that global scale computer, to be able to actually facilitate that new multi-directional paradigm in energy by providing decision support at scale.
Scott, dig a little deeper on your Azure platform, great platform, obviously. I know some other firms out there have, open source applications they've kind of baked into their offerings, such as Kubernetes. Do you guys offer things like that? Give me a little more deeper dive on that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's a great question. And so, I talk a lot about the investment that we've made into our cloud in regards to the physical footprint, and the physical computing capability. But we've made equal investments into the actual software that runs within the cloud, the services that are available. And so if you take into consideration the totality of the portfolio, from IoT to, edge zones, to what happens in, what's available in the regions when it comes to AI, ML, big data, et cetera, we have over 600 platform services that are available within Azure. And what we're really focused on is enabling our customers and our partners to take advantage of those platform services to develop truly cloud native architectures. When it comes to the energy industry, one of the areas that we're really focusing a lot of effort on right now is how can we build more domain specific services within Azure that can be consumed by operators, that can be consumed by our partner ecosystem.
Scott, in that regard to those domains you just talked about, are there any examples you can give us?
Yeah. There was actually a recent announcement that we made jointly with Itron,
Ah,
where Itron has actually released a cloud-based meter data management system, MDM. And it has been truly proven out to scale beyond what you would expect from a traditional utility data center. Really contemplating a position for a cloud based MDM that deals with the same velocity of data, but exponentially greater at the point where 10 million meters may be on a single system. And so we actually partnered with Itron to co-develop that MDM. And so that's a great example
wow.
of a partner of ours leveraging native cloud services from within Azure to create new applications.
That's fantastic. Look forward to learning more about that this week. So let me shift gears a little bit. I mean, here we are. We're coming out of this COVID thing, it looks like. Hopefully, we don't have a relapse with one of these variants. But young people are out there, starting to enter the job market. Quite a challenging job market out there, I think, if you're just getting started. But I think we're going to see a lot of openings. What advice would you have for a young person that wanted to get into the utility or the technology sector?
When I reflect back on my career, my education, I actually have a degree in architecture.
Oh, wow.
And here I am in technology. And the reason I ended up in technology is because there was an adjacency between architecture and when I came out of school, and I'm going to date myself here a bit, but it was when CAD was actually starting to be used, within architecture firms. But I was the guy responsible for essentially digital transformation for a firm back then. And so that's what really got me into technology. And so the advice that I would offer is follow a path that you're interested in. And so if you're interested in energy, don't necessarily feel like you have to pick either I'm going to take a computer science path or I'm going to take a power systems path. You could take both, because I think that almost any degree now, it's incredibly additive to actually take technology courses while you're in university. And I think it's strongly encouraged. And I think that what you're going to see is even more convergence, because as we talk about digital transformation within industry, it's going to be pervasive across all sectors, I would imagine. And so my advice would be follow what area you're truly interested in, but certainly be open-minded to taking those classes that you can learn how to code. Because honestly, with the tools that are available today for code or no code environments, everybody can be a coder in their jobs. And we actually talk about that a lot at Microsoft as well.
Well, I appreciate your time. Any last words on what we should be thinking about Microsoft when we think energy and utilities?
For me personally, I'm passionate about the energy industry. I feel like I have one of the coolest jobs in the world because I'm passionate about energy transition. I'm passionate about climate change, but I'm also passionate about technology. And here we are at this inflection point where Microsoft is truly leaning in on an industry. What I look for and what I hope to really see continue to develop is the partnerships that we establish as we progress, with this journey, because it's truly going to take, a village of expertise, from customers as partners, from ISV partners that are actually developing new things, co-building with Microsoft. Many times people kind of compare what we're doing today as a moonshot, and I think it's actually probably bigger than that. I think that this is truly an unprecedented exercise that we're all going to be going through, but there's good reason for it. And as I said earlier, there's a bias for action. And so I look forward to and welcome anybody who is interested in actually talking to us about partnering on this journey that we're on.
I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you for your time today, Scott. And everyone, please make sure you go by the Microsoft virtual booth and learn more about this great company and their detailed move into the utility and energy space. And thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.